Let's talk about Omega. I'm going to be real with you guys. Omega pretty much proves a point that I've made a long time ago throughout multiple live streams and multiple videos that I've said. I think in one of the videos that I've made a while back, I think the thumbnail was like, make me fear them. Because I wanted to be scared of monsters. I want these monsters to actually be scary so that the hunt actually becomes much more meaningful. And Omega delivers on that. Now, it's important to point out that it doesn't deliver on that because it's Omega. Like, this could have been another monster. This could have been, like, any monster on a monster. Now, I am excited because it is Omega, because I'm also a Final Fantasy XIV fan, and I was super curious to see what the team was going to do with the Omega fight, how they're going to implement the MMO mechanics and all of that good stuff. And I feel like they've done a really fantastic job. Now, this is not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And as a matter of fact, from the experience that we have from back in the day in Monster Hunter World, I remember a lot of people are just like, I don't want MMO mechanics in my Monster Hunter. I just want to bash the monster until it stops moving. This was a complaint that people had for Behemoth. This was a complaint that people had for Alatreon in particular, because Alatreon also has the Eschaton Judgment mechanic. And there was always a lot of people that didn't like it, which, to be honest, is like, listen, you like what you like. But at the end of the day, what I can say is that I personally loved Alatreon. I personally loved Fatalis. I personally love Omega. I think that these fights are phenomenal. But I think that, like I was saying, it doesn't have to be Omega. It could have been another monster, but it needed to be this level of difficulty. And let me explain to you why. Because this is something that I feel like a lot of players don't understand. But ultimately, if you make an experience wherein you don't need other players to succeed, unfortunately, the way that a lot of gaming communities have been right now, what ends up happening is most people just end up playing by themselves. Because you don't need other people to succeed. And in my case, the main reason ends up being like, well, the game's already at a difficulty level where, you know, if I bring in somebody else, the live stream is just not going to be entertaining. Because we're going to go in there, we're going to beat this thing to shreds, it's barely going to move, and we're just you know, what's the entertainment factor for the stream when there's almost no chance of failure? The chance of failure is so low that, like, we're all just sitting there shooting the shit. It's more of a podcast experience than necessarily, you know, a gameplay live stream, I feel like. And that was a complaint that I've had with Wilds. To an extent, it was also a complaint that I've had with Rise and Sunbreak before you get to Anomalies. Once you start getting into Anomalies, then yeah, you want to be playing with more people, which is a good thing. And it's like, it's something that I've missed since all the way back in, I mean, I say all the way back like this was a very long time ago, but it was GU. I always like bringing this up because whenever I would be doing G-rank GU hunts, I would want to play with Wada and Kegrin. I wouldn't want to play by myself because the hunts would take too long. You can say skill issue, whatever. I was playing one of the weaker weapons. The gun lance is just not that powerful in GU, but I don't think it matters. Even if I'm playing Sword and Shield, which was very, very good in GU, at least from my experience, I still would want to have my two friends there because the hunts would be shorter. It would still be a ton of fun. It still wouldn't be like a walk in the park. There was still challenge. There was everything. Whereas in Wilds, World, to an extent Iceborne, minus some of the later hunts, it's always a situation where if you bring more people in, sure, it can be fun, but for the most part, especially if you're doing a live stream or anything like that, the audience is just not going to enjoy the experience of having other players there as much because a big portion of the challenge is essentially gone. And with Omega, you kind of have to play with other players. I mean, you can do it solo with the support hunters. A lot of people have done that. Personally, I don't find that as fun because even though they are somewhat adequate, it's just, I don't know. It feels weird because you can't really coordinate with them. You can't really try and make stuff happen like, oh, let's bring them over here to the pillar. Let's do this. Because what ends up happening most of the time is unless it just takes aggro, And then Alessa just does whatever Alessa does, and all of the other hunters are just trying to do their best, and that's pretty much the experience with support hunters. I like the chaos that comes with a multiplayer hunt. I like the motivation of helping my friends get clears and my friends helping me get clears because I still don't have all of the materials for Omega. At this point, for people that are curious, I have 5 total clears of Omega Savage. All 5 of those clears were during Ark's stream. I don't know what that says about any of this because I can't seem to get a single clear on my stream. Hopefully that will change today. We'll see. But yeah, we have 5 clears that we've done after hours in Arc stream because he streams later than me. And usually I'll be done with my stream, then I jump in, we just do some random hunts. But I think that one of the coolest things that has happened with Omega is stuff like what you're seeing here. See, this gameplay is from some of the attempts that we did on Arc stream. And if you notice, in this gameplay, I'm playing with Cowslayer, I'm playing with Arc, and I'm playing with Nyx. All Monster Hunter content creators that we barely ever really play together because we all know that if we all get together, it's just going to be like a big, we kill the thing super fast and then it's done. And in here, there's actually the potential for failure. And that just, I don't know how to explain it. It just feels good that it's old school raiding. And you need to understand, I come from an MMORPG background. So during a big portion of my life, all I did was play World of Warcraft, Guild Wars, all of like the old MMORPGs, Lineage 2. I was doing a lot of MMORPGs, and raiding was one of my favorite things. So I like raid mechanics. I think that stuff is really fun. And when you add raid mechanics into the Monster Hunter combat system, it just feels way better because, you know, the MMORPGs that I would play, these are tap targeting MMORPGs. These are not action-based MMORPGs. So like, figuring out all of these mechanics, coming up with strategies, coming up with builds, trying out different things. These are all things that I crave and enjoy. Now, I understand that a portion of the community is not going to be interested in this. And to that, all I can really say is like, listen, there's the normal version. I'm really sorry you can't enjoy this, but unfortunately, there is no middle ground to be had. Because if you nerf Omega, then it's likely not going to be as enjoyable of a fight for me to do anymore. It really is just that simple. I need to have that level of challenge. Like, to give you guys an idea, if you go back and watch my streams, it took me over 20 hours before I got my first Omega clear. And to me, that's fantastic. I want that challenge. I crave that challenge. And I haven't seen the community come together quite as much, pretty much since the launch of the game. The amount of people that are collabing and playing with each other and playing together, trying to figure out strategies, trying to figure out the most efficient ways of defeating this robot from Final Fantasy XIV is awesome. Now, there's also a lot of people that are of the opinion that Omega doesn't fit this world. Now, from the Omega lore itself, he absolutely fits the world. It's just a lot of people don't care. A lot of people just don't care. They're like, it doesn't make sense. He's not a monster. He doesn't fit in my Monster Hunter game. That's fine. I can understand if that's where you stand. Sorry you feel that way. Nothing I can do about it. And personally, I'm still going to continue enjoying the boss fight because I think it is tremendously enjoyable. But if you are curious as to the Omega lore, why does it fit that Omega would come to this world? It's because Omega is part of a race of AI sentient beings called the Omicrons. This is according to Final Fantasy XIV lore. Different Final Fantasies will probably have different lore for different Omegas, but in Final Fantasy XIV, Omega is a creation of this race, the Omicrons, and I'm probably going to miss a couple of things here because I've never been a big lore buff in any video game that I've played. But fundamentally, the purpose of Omega is to find strong opponents and fight them in order to evolve and become stronger. And Omega has the capability of dimensional travel. So he's able to travel to other dimensions to find these strong beings. You can almost think of Omega like Goku. Omega is basically Goku. He is going around to other planets and other dimensions and other realities in search of stronger creatures so that he himself can become stronger. And that's why, from a lore perspective, at least Final Fantasy XIV lore, it makes sense that he would come here. because he's coming over to try and find like this strong creature. The creature that he has seen attacking is Jin Dahad. Now you might argue, well, Jin Dahad is not really that strong. Jin Dahad is actually easier, make more sense if he goes after Gormagala. It's like, yeah, from a gameplay perspective, maybe, but likely the Monster Hunter team considers Jin Dahad to be the bigger threat because, you know, he's big, he's affecting the whole ecosystem, all of the shenanigans of Jin Dahad. And it's actually interesting because the first time that you fight Omega, Omega has a certain amount of abilities and all of that stuff. And then when you get to Savage, you see Omega scanning Jin Dahad, right? And when Omega scans Jin Dahad, he evolves himself. And this is a subtle thing, like some people might not notice, but Omega gets a new attack. I mean, you'll notice the new attack, but you might not connect the dots, is what I'm saying. Savage Omega gets a new attack after analyzing Jin Dahad. What attack is that? He gets the Ice attack, which is one of the most dangerous attacks in Omega Savage, because if he catches you with the Ice, what's going to happen is he's going to freeze you, and usually he's then going to trample you with the Rocket Charge. So that's the whole thing about Omega. He finds strong creatures, he learns from the strong creatures, then he adapts his frame to become stronger. So it just makes sense from a lore perspective, from a Final Fantasy XIV lore perspective, from a monster perspective. All of that stuff makes perfect sense. Now, this is not going to matter for people that don't like it. And I'm sorry if you don't like it. Hopefully you'll come back for the next title update. Hopefully you can find other things that you can enjoy, because there's also the other Art-Tempered monsters that are going to be coming through. On the 22nd of October, there's going to be the special spooky season event and all of that good stuff. So there's going to be more stuff to do then. But for the rest of us, like, we've been enjoying the crap out of this, because ultimately we've had so much power in Monster Hunter Wilds, with the introduction of focus mode, with the introduction of charms, with the introduction of Ardean weapons. Like, our hunters are giga OP. And you can say that the 9.5s are the first thing that kind of starts testing your power, but even 9.5s, after you kind of like get used to them, I wasn't even running stuff like guard or guard up when I was fighting something like Gormagala. I was like, whatever, I'd rather just take offensive guard and deal even more damage. When you're fighting Omega, you're taking all the things. Like, I'm taking guard up, I'm taking the escape skill so that just in case he freezes me with a freeze attack, I'm not going to instantly die. I'm taking, all of the guards, all of the comfort skills that I can fit into my set. I am taking those 100%. And not even just that. For today's attempts, I'm actually going to be playing a different weapon, because Gunlance is a pain in the ass to play against Omega if you're trying to tank. It's very good if you're trying to deal damage, but if you're trying to actually tank, unless you have like the most coordinated team imaginable, tanking with the Gunlance is actually a nightmare. Tanking with a Lance, though, way easier. So we're probably going to be doing Lance today, because it's like, to give you guys an idea, if somebody takes aggro away from me with the Gunlance, I'm going to have to do like 5 Wyvern Fires before I get the aggro back. Somebody took aggro away from me yesterday in Arc Stream. I go in there with the Lance, poke, poke, poke. I have aggro again. It really was just, I just like poked the damn thing 3-4 times. I got aggro. Boom, done. It is what it is. It is what it is. So, the only times that I will be playing Gunlance today is if somebody else is playing Lance. Then I'll just play Gunlance, deal damage, and just focus on breaking parts, doing all of that stuff. But most likely, whenever I'm tanking, I'm playing Lance today. But yeah, Omega has been tremendously fun. I really like the update. It's been really, really good. I know that some people have been having some issues with this update in terms of performance, crashes, and other situations. There's also been like reports of RE framework being the cause of those. I even had somebody the other day, I forget if it was in my comment section on Twitter, somebody was saying like, "God damn, Monster Hunter Wilds makes my Discord crash." I'm like, okay. Maybe at that point, we need to be looking into something else. I highly doubt that Monster Hunter Wilds is making your Discord crash. It's possible. It's possible. But I would say it's highly unlikely. It's getting to a point where People, it's the bicycle meme, you know, where the dude's riding the bicycle, then he puts a stick in the wheel, then he falls down, then he's like, "Goddamn Monster Hunter Wilds, why would you do this?" It's insane. So, you know, it is what it is. I hope that people are able to sort out the performance issues. I hope that Capcom's able to improve stuff with Title Update 4, which is the next time that they're going to be reviewing any type of performance stuff. I think they're doing something with CPU usage or whatever it is. I forget what it is, but Title Update 4 is going to be the next time that we're going to be seeing some type of update in that manner. I've also heard from people saying that the game runs better for them, so it's conflicting reports. And naturally, we've also had a bunch of people that decided that they should say that Omega too hard, which he's not. He's not too hard. He's just as hard as he needs to be to make sure that he's going to push you. Not to mention, we're not done with the power creep in Monster Hunter Wilds. So if you're not able to do Omega now, next title update, you are likely going to get stronger with additional gear. I mean, you're going to get stronger this title update, most likely, with whatever is going to be the bonus of new Udra's armor set. It is what it is. Then there's also new mechanics in the form of the Bale armor set, which actually has a neat little interaction with the Blackest Night. I haven't really tested that on Omega. I haven't really tested that all that much at all. And I believe there's also unique skills for the Omega sets, which I haven't really seen because I want to see those on stream for the first time once we actually get an Omega clear on stream. So it's almost like I'm forcing myself to wait until we get a clear on stream, and then we're going to do like armor reviews, do all that stuff, even though I can see them already from the clears that I have done. Also, a little bit of an update for those of you that might not be aware. Gaijin Hunter has proclaimed there will be no Third Fleet podcast until he clears Omega. So I'm sorry, guys. I tried. I did my best. So now we're just dependent on Gaijin and Yuna clearing Omega. By Omega, I mean Savage Omega. We are dependent on Yuna and Gaijin Hunter clearing Savage Omega before we can actually get the next podcast. And yes, there's in case you guys are wondering, because I see some people in chat talking, there is one armor set that you get from normal Omega. There is a great sword that you get from normal Omega. All of those have unique skills, like you have the Blackest Night in the armor set, which works with any weapon. And then you have the special Shadowbringer skill, which I forget what the name of that skill is, that basically makes your great sword shoot out ranged attacks. Not like full-on range, but kind of like short ranged attacks whenever you do your charge slashes and stuff like that. The thing is, it also costs you life. There's a whole mechanic around. I haven't really looked into it too much. And then there's also Omega M and Omega F, which is female and male versions of the Omega armor. So that's like a whole new armor set. I don't know what the mechanics are of that one. I don't even know if it's just cosmetic or not. And then there's still a sword and shield and an insect glaive that have their own like unique skills that I still haven't looked into. Like I said, I want to look into those when we actually do it live on stream. But overall, Omega's been an absolute blast, to the point where I've barely been able to make any videos because every single moment of time that I have, I just go live and I stream Omega and we fight Omega because it's just a ton of fun. But that's where I'm at with this update. Tons of fun. Obviously, still performance issues. People are now crashing their games and having problems with that. Hopefully that stuff gets sorted out with a patch or something. Hopefully people figure out what's the situation with RE Framework, where a lot of people are also crashing because of RE Framework. And then we have the other side that I'm not a big fan of, that I pointed out during the showcase where they showed Omega and all of that stuff, which is the microtransactions. There's a ton of microtransactions that they've added with this update as well. And I've said it before and I will say it again and I will continue saying it. I feel like Capcom doesn't really deserve to launch additional paid DLC until they sort out the performance issues. And I feel like it would be very good of them to stop doing that, because it just shows as unbridled greed, really. Because yes, you're putting out this really cool content that I really love in the form of Omega, and we're still getting a ton of free stuff, but at the same time, your game still has performance issues, there's people complaining of crashes, and you absolutely should not be putting out paid DLC until able to solve all of these issues, or at least minimize them to a significant extent to what we're getting right now. But obviously it's going to be what it's going to be, and there's not a whole lot that I can really do to influence that other than continue to provide my feedback and say, like, you shouldn't be putting out this paid DLC. That's just the way that I look at it. But, yeah. It is what it is. I'm really happy with the Omega update. I think it is a ton of fun. I highly recommend people to try it out. I'm going to try to do a guide later. My guide's going to come out like giga late because it took me a very long time to finally get the clear. But yeah, since this is going to become a video in the channel, do let me know your feedback and all that stuff in the comment section down below. We'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.